If you dream of your motorcycle, if your day isn't complete without some time in the saddle, if all you need is the open road and a full tank of gas, well, you've come to the right place, because this is Throttled, and it's starting now. Here's your host, Kevin McKinney.
Throttled. How's everybody doing? I'm not showing up on the YouTube thing, so we'll get that fixed in just a moment. But hopefully everybody's doing well. I have had an interesting week, a fun week. We'll get to that in just a minute. Tonight we're joined by Tom and Larry. Tom, how are you doing, man?
Doing great. Weather here in the South is absolutely fabulous. I wish I could stay like this for a very long time. Low humidity, great temperatures right around 70. My wife tells me the pollen count was low, so I have no idea what pollen does to people, but apparently they don't like it. It was up in the thousands earlier in the week, so yeah, it was been a good week.
Good, man. What about you, Larry?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good here. Pollen stimulates allergies. That's what it does.
So my wife and my son tell me, but I'm not one of those that can relate. Sorry.
Yeah, well, thank you. Count your blessings. Me too. I don't particularly have a reaction to pollen, but so out here things are good too. The weather has been, unfortunately, too nice. We really need more rain, and it's not coming. So I think we're going to be entering into a drought water preservation season, and that's kind of difficult. But right now, the weather's gorgeous, mid-60s, sunny, and if it wasn't for the fact that I'm doing grandson duties, we would be out more on the bike. Kev, what about you?
I enjoyed the weather this week. I ended up going and helping out with some rider coaches that were finishing up their training and kind of help just give them tips and advice and, step in if needed during this weekend. Hopefully a couple of them may decide to turn in and they're wondering like, hey, where's Kevin's image on YouTube? Because a lot of them are going to watch on YouTube. And I'm trying to work on that. So I'll be distracted a little bit. But, it was a great weekend. Good time to be out on the range. Good time to help and make new friends. I really enjoyed meeting everybody. And it was a lot of fun. So I barely made it back in. I got in just enough time to grab a quick bite to eat and a shower and then get the show running. So I hope everybody else out there is doing all right. We are slightly behind in some of our shows, if you're watching on YouTube, getting them published just because I have been going 90-0 with different classes and stuff. I do look to have a window this week to get a few of the shows out. So hopefully, knock on wood, I can get caught up before our next show next Sunday, which should be the 25th, if I'm thinking right. Math, it's hard. Anyway, so riding-wise, I'll go first since I'm already blabbing my mouth. I ended up riding to and from the range yesterday, and then just a few errands around. Nothing really to speak about. Really starting to use the bike more as a tool. Just here, I want to get out, throw in the gear, and go do that real quick. I haven't been out for like a leisurely, relaxing ride in some time. Looking forward to hopefully doing that some next Friday morning, early, or next Friday evening, kind of late. So we'll see how that works next week. Who wants to talk about? Oh, we'll switch it up this time. We'll let Larry talk about his riding.
Oh, well, this won't take long because I didn't get to do any motorcycle riding this week. As I mentioned, I had grandson duties, and that superseded everything. So a couple of days we went down to do some babysitting, and that's going great. But unfortunately, it didn't allow me to do much, any actually motorcycle rides this week. What about you, Tom?
As nice as the weather has been, not much, unfortunately. My son was visiting in town, so really during the week spent time with him as he was in town. This past weekend, my wife and I got out for a electric bicycle ride. So we did a fairly long lunch ride on the bicycles. Count as a ride though, because our bikes do have a throttle. And then just got the big bike out, the Beamer out earlier today, I hadn't run the bike in a week, yeah. So just got it out went local roads for about an hour. I just tooled around and hit as many little twisty roads in my outlying neighborhoods as I could. So that was kind of fun. But unfortunately, that's been about it. Part of it too is I've been kind of not riding the Beamer as much because I've got a big trip coming up in a week and a half, and I've been trying to save my tires for it a little bit. I always reach this point where I've got about maybe 1,500 or so, maybe I could even stretch it 2,000 miles left on the tires. And I'm heading out for a 5-day trip in the mountains, which I'll ride 1,000 to 1,200 miles, and I'm going to end up burning up the tires in that amount of time. So I've been kind of taking it easy so I wouldn't have to switch the tires out before I went on the trip.
Got it.
Awesome, man.
That's mine.
So, I mean, you're saving your tires. What can you say? I mean, that's...
Well, I've already bought the new tires, so they're at the dealership. I'd really like to not switch these out because I think I can get through the entire weekend with these tires on. So we'll see. I think I talked about this a week or two ago, but that trip starts, let's see, week and a half. So Wednesday, the 28th is when I head out.
Yeah, when I did some of my long out west trips as a part of the hog group, some of the guys would actually ship tires out to some of the dealerships out west, and they would have them waiting for them there. And then midway through the trip, they would, stop at that dealership. Tires would be there, and they would swap the tires.
Yeah, if it was distance along that line. Mine is not so much distance, but the amount of twisty mountain riding that we do.
Mm-hmm.
So we do maybe 250, maybe between 250 and 280 miles a day. But it's not much of it is in a straight line.
No, hey, we did some twisties. We turned every now and then,
Made a left or a right?
Yeah, we would do a left or right, and usually it was to stop somewhere to eat, but, there were turns.
All right. So I think we got a pretty decent show for everybody today. Sorry, I'm distracted because the video just, for some reason, my camera just when I
Kevin, you're not there.
When I hit the button to start broadcasting, it just turned off, and I can't reinitialize it without restarting the computer. So sorry, everybody. You get spared looking at my ugly mug today. So anyway, welcome everybody in the live stream that's joined. Good to see everybody. We are going to be talking today, ladies and gentlemen, about our motorcycle fitness. And, we realized the other day that with all four hosts, we cover 4 different decades. And that's depressing for some of us. Actually, it's probably depressing for all of us, in the long run. But so we just thought, and actually Tom came up with this wonderful idea, talk a little bit about fitness, about how you're, getting in motorcycle shape. We're coming off of a long, hard, difficult year last year where a lot of us let our fitness go because we couldn't do what we wanted to do to stay fit. And then we had a winter, which usually doesn't help in the fitness arena. And now here we are, where springtime's out, bluebirds, we're able to get out and do some riding, and those old aches and creaks and painful things happen, and you may not be able to do what you want to do. If you're an avid off-road rider, maybe you're struggling just to manage the trails that you were acing a couple years ago. So, I mean, Todd, where did you want to kind of take this leap into the topic?
Yeah, so it was right in line with that as to, this for many that are coming out of the cocoons in the north, they're just starting to ride again. And I always think about, when I see some riders, especially as riders get older, it's, you hear about this, well, I've got to go to a bike that isn't as tall because I have to be able to hold it up, or I can't get my leg over the bike, or I can't hold the weight of it. Or you go out and ride with a group, and people just can't sit on the bike for more than 60 to 100 miles an hour and have to stop, or after 5 or 6 hours, maybe 150 to 200 miles of riding, they're just wiped, they're done. So it's all part of that as to led me to this as to you know what do you guys do to stay in your riding shape, regardless of what that shape is? Round is a shape after all, so that's part of it. But let me put it out to the group as to we'll get into the age thing in a little bit, but just in general, what do you guys do and what do you suggest for folks? Larry?
Oh,
I'll
me
throw it
first.
to you first.
Me
Yeah.
first. Okay. Well, as the octogenarian in the group, almost. I guess.
Octogenarian, really? Octogenarian.
All right. Septuagenarian. So it's actually not easy staying in shape. And when the pandemic started, I realized that I was already and very quickly ballooning out in all sorts of ways, and this was not good for me. So I resolved to try to lose some weight, and I did this primarily by increasing my exercise. And my primary form of exercise is bicycling, because any other form for me, running, walking, hiking, and so on, is kind of tough on my musculoskeletal system. And bicycling is the gentlest on my system. And so since last March, I've been, a year ago this March, I've been riding almost 2 hours a day, actually a little over 2 hours a day on my bicycle. And that really has helped to keep my weight down, number one, keep me in shape aerobically, number two. And specifically in terms of motorcycle riding issues, for me, the most significant problems that I have riding a motorcycle for a longer period of time is my back and my neck. So I find that if I'm on the motorcycle for an extended period of time, my back starts to ache and my neck starts to ache, and it gets hard for me to sort of hold my head up, because my neck muscles start to weaken. And all of these are things that my position on my bicycles is similar to the position on the motorcycle, and so I find that riding a bicycle really helps to to exercise the back muscles and the neck muscles and strengthen them, so that when I ride my motorcycle, I don't have as much of a problem.
So would you make that suggestion as to other riders that would be a good form of exercise for them?
Well, I think it is. I think that in addition to the aerobic benefits of riding a bicycle, depending on the kind of bike you have and your position on the bike, it may very well translate also into increasing your strength in terms of your back and neck muscles. But for me, it isn't quite enough. The other part of it is, of course, is sort of holding yourself over the handlebars on the motorcycle when you're braking. If you're riding for long distances, you get increased pressure from braking and from turning and stuff like that. Riding the bicycle can help with that because you're in a similar position. But I have found that I use free weights at home, and I do curls and presses and a few other things several times a week to try to to increase my tricep strength and enable me to sort of hold myself up more easily when I'm riding my bicycle as well as when I'm riding the motorcycle. So I do think that working out with weights is also important in keeping up your muscle tone. You don't have to, you don't have to become Arnold Schwarzenegger, although if you want to, you can. But just keeping your muscle tone and your muscle strength, I think, can be helpful, and using the weights can help, as well as doing push-ups. That's another
And
exercise that. Go ahead.
I'll comment on that in a bit. So,
Okay.
Kevin, you are the youngster of our little tri group here. How about you?
Well, that's interesting. I have a couple years ago, right when I started having some of my blood clotting issues, which we've well documented. I got into doing CrossFit and really focusing on my lower back, my abdominal core area, my legs, and my cardio. And I would do the push-ups and chest and everything, and I saw a tremendous benefit to my riding. Just my ability to ride longer with less fatigue, less pain. And that was kind of part of the goal, was to get in shape to do some off-road stuff to where my legs weren't killing me and everything. When I started having further issues, culminating in the pulmonary embolism, I haven't really worked out hard in about a year, and it shows. I weigh about the same as I did a year ago. Well, no, that's not true. I'm still underneath what I weighed a year ago. But I guess at one point I was still like 335, but I was in a 36-inch pant, and it looked decent on me. I didn't have anything hanging over, and I felt good about it, and it really made a difference as COVID and the other stuff happened. It started changing, and now I ride about an hour, my back starts aching, and I've tried to do better in eating and everything. And right now, the only kind of exercise I'm really getting is when I'm on the range. And I've started doing just simple, air squats to fatigue pretty much a couple times a day. A few push-ups here and there and some sit-ups. And that's about all I'm doing right now. But I'm also battling some of the health issues that I've got that I haven't talked about on the show that just are restricting me a little bit, So, it's one of those things of you do what you can, but there is definitely, if you just put in a little bit of work, it's amazing how quickly you can see benefits on things like riding, right? I mean, riding is a position where you're sitting up and you don't have a lot of back support. Yeah, some people do get different kind of things. But, that's one of the things we need to work about is our, how are we doing with our fitness, with everything going on. So,
Yep.
That's all I got right now.
Well, that's good. I mean, you guys are right in line with what I was thinking on this. So, my big thing is last fall, I dropped about 25 pounds. Since the new year, I've put about 10 back on, and now I'm get my program back in shape, drop another 20 or so. But I've always been a weightlifter. That's my thing, and so that's what I enjoy the most. And if I could give advice to three things that I think everybody should do, which should basic exercises that I think would improve everybody's exercise or motorcycling, and you guys said it, is one is squats, just doing air squats. You don't realize actually how much you use your legs when you're riding, especially as you get into more aggressive riding. And Larry, we were talking a little bit about before the show about how the kind of shape that the MotoGP guys are in, and my wife always tells me I come back from a ride, oh, I might be tired. It's like, well, you just sat on the bike for the last 7 or 8 hours. How could you be tired? It's like, well, throwing that 600-pound bike around curves for several hours, there is some exercise, and especially when you're in the twisties and you're trying to keep your butt off the seat, and you're using a lot of leg muscles. So that would be one thing. Two is core, and Larry, you said, core is not only just doing sit-ups; it's your back muscles as well. So, hell, go do a planks. Can you hold a plank for both on your forearms and on your hands in like a top push-up position? Do that for start off just 10 seconds. Try and get 20 seconds, 30, a minute or more. So those are basic things. If you can throw a push-up in there, great. The last one that you guys didn't mention is stretching. I think one of the guys I saw in the forum a little bit earlier had said about their kid doing yoga, and they started joining in and realized just how much flexibility they had lost. I think, and Larry, I don't know if you do this, and I do as I aged, is just trying to keep up my flexibility. I've always been fairly flexible for my size, but I make sure that I stretch just about every day, especially hamstrings, back muscles, quads, and the rest of the body, whatever I'm working out for the day. So those are my basics. What do you guys think as far as for that, as far as suggestions?
I think I agree with you. I think the core strengthening is very important. You really do want to avoid back strain, and the way to do that, my understanding, is by doing core strengthening, and that can involve stretching. Although I personally feel that stretching is actually a form of torture, and it was outlawed by the Geneva Convention.
It can be painful, especially when you're first starting off and then starting to push yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I've tried stretching on a number of occasions, and I found it excruciating. I'm very tight and stiff, and my wife is into yoga, and she's always encouraging me to do stretching exercises and I won't. I just can't do them because it's too painful. But for those of you who can do them and don't encounter excruciating pain, I think that's a great thing to do. You want to make sure.
So where do these things help you as far as so for that person that's struggling with throwing a leg over their bike, if you can't throw your leg over and you've got to do some maneuver where you're lifting your foot up by the pant leg and putting it over, well, part of that could be just flexibility, and flexibility will actually help you keep you from getting injured, if you're more flexible in your legs and your upper body to be able to move and maneuver around. I'm not a little person, but I can, my seat height's on my bike 35 inches. I could still easily throw my leg over that bike, and I hope to keep doing that. Go ahead.
I totally agree with the flexibility aspect. That's about all you added to what I said. So I'll keep it to that. And yoga, I did yoga as part of a workout curriculum years ago, and it is extremely, extremely challenging. So you get a lot of that, those little twitch muscles to stabilize you. They really come into play, and you're able to use that a lot to stabilize yourself. And relieve some of the other muscle. You're using all these different things, and so you don't get fatigued because no particular muscle group is working that hard. They're all sharing the load. I really think that programs like that, honestly, that's why I enjoy CrossFit so much, is because on Thursdays we had a stretching part of it, and it was 20 minutes, and 10 of it was just good stretching post workout, and 10 minutes was and they kind of it floated back and forth, but part of it was yoga poses, and other parts were just your traditional athletic stretching that you would see. And I really got a lot out of that as a cool down to make sure you didn't get too tight, because as you are working out with weights, you have a tendency to build muscle. When I was younger, I was a basketball player, and I worked a lot on my legs and my lower back. So my hamstrings are incredibly tight. I have a hard time, even with proper stretching, with my legs and everything just being extremely tight. And so I can get leg cramps and stuff like that. So it's one of those things that, doing the stretching, doing the things, taking care of yourself, and even stretching before you get on the bike, take 5 minutes and just, stretch out your hamstrings, stretch out specifically your neck. You forget you're adding weight to your head, and the only thing that can support that helmet are your neck muscles. That's it, right? So slowly stretch your neck and let those muscles start get some blood flow in them and loosen up before you go throwing on, hopefully, a full-size helmet and riding down the road. If you just think about what parts, of your body, your wrist take a lot. Now, if you're riding off road, your wrists take a lot of abuse when you're in and out of different kind of terrain, and you're working your clutch and your brakes, and very active on those controls. Your hands and your wrists can actually use a little bit of stretching post and pre and post work ride. So, and I know this is kind of like fitness guru and healthy stuff that may not be exciting to everybody, but this is an aspect that's going to keep us riding longer, and that's our goal.
Yeah, and that was my thought to this topic, is that you don't have to be shredded and in shape to ride. It's like, no, you just have to be so that you are comfortable and you don't hurt yourself. And you can be out of shape but still be in riding shape. And like I say, that is just being flexible. I think having good leg muscles, can you pick up your bike? That's a big thing. Can you get your leg over your bike? Can you ride all day in some mountain riding and not be strung out dead tired at the end of it? So that's just part of it. And as we get older, that's always a little bit tougher. We lose muscle mass, we lose flexibility. I crossed that threshold last year into the big 6-0, and Larry's well above me. Kevin's well below.
Hey, how's that buzz, Larry?
Just throw that in there.
Sad to say. So I agree with that. One other aspect actually that I was thinking about is that I do find that I get hand cramps, particularly actually in both hands when I'm riding for long periods of time. And the only thing I can think of that would help to mitigate that is if you increase your hand strength. How squeezing those spring-like exercisers or perhaps compressible material exercisers, but things to do to increase your hand and wrist strength, because I do find invariably when I ride for a more than 2 hours or so that I start getting cramps in both of my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, don't give up on it as you start aging up. I think it becomes even more important as you start getting older. If you want to keep riding, stay in riding shape, and that's not anything, like I say, not killer workouts. I'll give you a fun thing that I started doing this past month, and I found this on YouTube, and I picked it up. So there was a song by an artist called Moby. The song's been around for quite a while. Song is called Flower. Most people know it as the Bring Sally Up or Green Sally Up song. So there is a challenge in which you listen to the song and they repeat the phrase "Green Sally up, Green Sally down" throughout the song. It's about a 3.5 minute song. Um, Play the song and try and do squats to the song. Okay, and then try do push-ups to that song. It's a challenge on YouTube. So over the past month, I'm like I say, I weightlift a lot. I'm good at squats. I can get through the song on squats. I can only make it halfway right now on push-ups because I'm terrible on push-ups, mostly because of the length of my arms that I have to go up and down. But
doesn't it suck? Doesn't it suck having? I mean, people are like, we're on the range and they're like, "Oh, picking up calls isn't that bad." I'm like, "You're like 5'2", dude. You're like on the ground anyway. Us tall guys, we got a long way to go to get down there to get that going off the ground."
Oh, I had a good friend of mine. He was maybe 5'7", 5'8", and he's like, "Yeah, I do 50 push-ups every morning." I says, "You only have to move your arms 3 inches and you're on the ground. What do you have no distance to move. Of course you could do that every single morning."
Yeah, but his arms are only 3 inches long.
Yeah, I mean, it was like boom, boom. That was it. So yeah, look it up. Try it out, and it's really fun because you can just be totally mindless in this little workout. 3.5 minutes squats, 3.5 minutes, if you can make it through for push-ups, and you just listen to the song and go up and down according to the song. It's and this is without weights. It's very isometric. So you have to hold the bottom for a few seconds every repetition. That gets tough. So give it a try. It's interesting.
Another one to do for a full body cardio workout. Do burpees to the song Roxanne. Every time they say Roxanne, do a burpee. By the end of it, you want to kill Roxanne. So it's very tough, especially at the end, like Roxanne, and then it just again and again and again.
I despise burpees.
Yeah.
What is a burpee?
I don't.
What is a burpee?
Oh my God! But no one over 5'9" should be doing burpees.
So burpees is you do a squat. If you do them properly, you squat down, put your hands by your feet, you kick out, do a push-up, jump your feet back to your hands, and then jump up off the ground like doing a jumping jack, yeah, like doing a jumping jack. So you jump up, and then so you do this. So you've got a push-up, a squat, a push-up, a plank, the return from plank, and a thrust jump, I guess is technically what it would be, something like that, in one motion or one set of motions. It's a burpee. And those people that they literally just like flop on the ground, so they jump back and just hit their chest in the ground, and then they lunge forward to their feet and jump up. So they take a lot of the motion out of it as an energy saver to get in more reps. If you have a gut, that is painful. If you don't have the chest muscles to catch yourself, it can be painful when you crack your nose on the ground. But yeah, it's not fun. Not fun at all. I know very few people who love burpees. They may be good at burpees, but it's one of those things that's pretty tough. I agree with stingers.
It's a great exercise. I despise them. I always have. But
I agree with stingers. I loved them when I was on if I'm on grass. If I'm on grass, it's not that bad. But on like a gym floor or something like that, it's pretty tough. So I had a Hans and Franz impression, but I don't know if I'm going to pull it out. Anyway, so let's.
Well, my favorite was always, remember there was a commercial for a fitness studio, and they had a guy that came on the show was very similar to that Hans and Franz type thing, and he just kept saying over and over to the person showing him around the studio, "I pick them up, I put them down." And that's basically the essence of weightlifting.
Yeah. So, you got to pick up the weight. I can't do it. I just can't. I'm so out of practice. I used to have a good Arnold back in the day, but I haven't tried that in probably over a decade. So I'd have to really take a week to work on an Arnold. So if I'd have paid attention and worked on it all week, I could have got it. But actually talked, to totally change the subject and move on to stuff that nobody really cares about except, well, actually nobody but me. I talked about Jethro today and started sharing some of the early adventures of Jethro and talking about the Motorcycle Podcasters Challenge, which unfortunately, as of this date, registration is closed. And I know we forgot to talk about it in the last couple of shows, and I apologize. Hopefully, people were able to get signed up for the Throttled Motorcycle Podcast listeners group. I did not get signed up because I have found out that I am going to be extremely busy and limited on time and don't want to make a commitment and take up a slot on the team because they've limited the number of people on the teams, and I didn't want to take up a slot on a team if I wasn't going to be able to do anything potentially. So I haven't talked to Zach to see what the final numbers are. Hopefully he is able to get some people in there. I do know there's a couple of teams out there representing some former podcast and the current podcast, and 2 teams for creative writing. Maybe, I don't know. I was very confused when reading the post, but that's nothing new, right?
So I don't know if everybody that's signed up for us is signed up for the Facebook group, but right now there's only 5 people on the Facebook group for us.
Yeah, so we may not have a team, or it may just be Zach. And Zach, it's Zach, right? He's going to kill it, right? I mean, if he keeps it up just by himself, he's going to kill it anyway. Will he win? Who knows? Tune in and see.
Go Zach.
Yeah, go Zach, and whoever the other person is.
I mean, I'll try to. It starts May 1st, right?
Did you get signed up though? Like put in for as a writer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm all signed up for the group,
okay.
And I'll be on my getaway over that weekend, and can't stop and do things.
It's like 3 weeks long. So.
Saturday, but I'll do it on the way home.
Yeah, it's like 3 weeks long. So now that I'm not competing, I can say if we lose, it's not my fault. So, all right. And just as a reminder, hopefully I can get these out on the 24th at the bike shop in Leeds, Alabama. They are having a Gymkhana event. If you go to Facebook and you find the bike shop in Leeds, Alabama, there's more details there about timing and addresses and all that good stuff. So go check that out. All right. On to a couple things. I want to give you about 5 minutes because we're running short on time. We went way longer on the topic. I'm going to give you 5 minutes or less to discuss the product review you wanted to do there, Tom.
Yeah, so I got another jacket, and this is by Climb. So Climb came out with, for 2021, 2 new induction jackets. That is their mesh jacket. So they've got the standard Climb induction, and the induction has been around for several years. I don't know, 9 years, maybe more. And then they also put out an Induction Pro jacket. So I picked up the Induction Pro, and I've realized as I look in my closet, I'm obviously a Climb fanboy. So now this makes all of my jackets are Climb. I've got 3 now that take me through the spectrum of riding weather, and I'm coming off of I had a Tourmaster Intake 3 that was about 10 years old, so I got a lot of life out of that. It was time to switch it up, and I was just really waiting for Climb to update their induction jackets. Why do I stay with Climb? It fits me body-wise. They tend to have a somewhat American cut. For the size that you get, the arm lengths are very long, which I need. So that's helpful. So on to the Induction Pro. Picked the Induction Pro primarily because it has a little more mesh than the induction jacket. So the arms are completely mesh. The body, front and back, is full mesh. There is perforated leather on the elbows, and I think 1000 denier extra nylon on the shoulders. It's got level 2 D30 armor on shoulders and elbows. Comes with a level 1 back protector D30. Um, so I've taken that out for a few different rides. It definitely flows a lot of air. It's fairly comfortable. It is a little bit of a departure from Climb in which it's similar to their Apex jacket, in which it is a slightly European cut. And what I mean by that is that it is not in. There's a different fit between the Induction and the Induction Pro. So the Induction has a much more boxy American cut. The Induction Pro has a little bit of a European cut, so the body of it is a little bit slimmer. So it still works well for me. I still wear my same size on it. Like the jacket, my only critique of it so far, and I've only worn it a couple times, is that, like I say, I like Climb because of the sleeve lengths, and the sleeve length on the Induction Pro as compared with my Marrakesh and my Latitude jacket, my other two Climb jackets, is the sleeves are probably a good inch shorter. Now that may work for a lot of people because that has a lot of folks, that is a big critique of Climb, is that, well, I got this jacket in whatever a medium or large or an extra large to fit my body, but the sleeves are coming down to my fingertips. It's so long. I don't have that issue. I get the other side. I wear in a dress shirt a 37-inch sleeve dress shirt, so I've got simian arms for my 6'3" height, and I like the sleeve length. But overall, so far, I like the jacket. It'll be my primary summer jacket in probably the 80-85 plus temperatures. My Marrakesh will suffice in that 60 to 85, and my Latitude is the rain jacket and cold weather jacket. So I'm fairly well set there. But that's kind of the thought. Any questions on that jacket?
No. I mean, that's
Does it come with like waterproof liners and that kind of stuff?
It does not, no. So the one thing that all Climb jackets have gone to is that you just get the shell. So if you want to put anything waterproof underneath it, you've got to do that. Or if you want any type of thermal to it, you've got to add that to it. So you just get the shell, which I like. I don't. My intake had my Tourmaster had two different inserts. It had a waterproof and a thermal insert. Had that jacket for 10 years. I've never owned them. I took them out when I bought the jacket, and I don't like those zip-in type things.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather just have in the summer, I don't care if I get wet. When it gets 85 in high humidity or 90 degrees high humidity here in the South, I welcome riding through a rainstorm. It helps cool you off. So that I don't mind. But no, you just get the shell. But it's a very well-made jacket. It's got finally on their Induction, Climb put in waist adjusters again. The last few years, that was a big critique that I had of it, was that they did away with the waist adjusters, so you couldn't cinch the jacket up a little bit to you. It's got arm adjusters to it so that you can bring the what do you call it, the arm sleeves in, make it tighter for the arm around you. So that's it. And I saw Larry, you said about the Aerostitch. So I do wear Aerostitch as my pants, but I'm not a fan of their jackets, although I do have a R3 onesie from Aerostitch. But I'm not a big fan of just haven't really found the Darien jacket to my liking. I like the Climb jackets a little bit better. They just fit me better. Probably somewhat similar quality.
Yeah.
I would give two big thumbs up for the Induction jacket. If you're looking for a upper end mesh jacket, it is not cheap. I will tell you that. I think retail it's probably $390. It might be $399, $350 to $399. Yeah, so it's a pricey mesh jacket. The regular Induction has less protection, level 1 D30, not as high denier protection on the elbows and the shoulders, and I think that's about $100 cheaper.
Well, thank you so much for that review, man. I'm glad that. I mean, I'm looking at some climb stuff. I just haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. I've got some more debating to do. And part of it is I've heard that they're making the sleeves shorter again, which I'm like, well, I need that. I'm one of these long, lanky arm guys, so I like the extra length in the sleeves. Too many things are short, and you get that weird tan because you got a gap. And that sucks when it's cold and raining. All right. So we've got a couple articles real quick I want to run through, and we're going to be pretty brief about this. There's a quick ride review of the Harley-Davidson Pan America 1250 Special. And this actually comes from a Dutch rider who has friends with people at Asphalt and Rubber, and he's got a video out on YouTube, but it's all in Dutch. But they've translated part of it, and they're actually going to make the video again with an English overlay and release it for everybody, and they'll update this then. But there was something that was said, and it was, I think, a good paragraph, to kind of sum up his report. His quick final verdict. The Harley-Davidson Pan America 1250 Special is a very capable and well-done machine, though it falls short of displacing the BMW R1250 GS and KTM 1290 Venture S as a category benchmarks for many enthusiasts. I think that last sentence is not as negative as you may seem. The thing is Harley came out, produced a 1250 Special. It is a bike that everybody is interested in. It's got a lot of news, and it's not like they ride it and they go like, this is horrible. Like, hey, this is a quality, good bike. Is it a BMW and KTM? No. They've kind of got a head start by, figuring some things out. But for Harley's first shot at this, it is a bike worthy of your attention and worthy for you to take a look at, because it may fit you better personality and character-wise than some of these other bikes, and meet your needs more. So I look at that as being positive news. And there are other European news sheets and videos that pretty much say the same thing. Yeah, it's not going to be the BMW, but if you're not really looking for a BMW, it may be good enough. Same kind of thing they say for all the others, but I think this is really getting up there. Quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think he said in the review that basically that he thinks that the Harley has achieved 90% of what you get with the BMW and the KTM in sort of different ways, and as a first effort by Harley Davidson, this is more than competent. This is really exceptional, and he would anticipate that the next version of the Pan Americas that come out are probably going to be every bit the equal of the BMWs and the KTM. So, but in the meantime, if you're interested in this kind of bike, he said that you should definitely give the Harley a try. And if you're at all inclined towards buying American or getting a Harley Davidson bike, then you would do very well to get the Pan America, even as it is now. He felt that it was very well done in most regards and a very competent on-road and off-road bike.
Well, let's just hope there is a second version. All right. Second thing, again, featuring BMW and Harley. This was coming between the Harley-Davidson Softail Slim and the R18 from BMW. The article on Cycle World is actually rather lengthy and does a great job of breaking down this bike, splitting down back and forth. I found a paragraph, again, that kind of summarized part of this conversation. And there's a lot more to dive into, and I unfortunately just don't have the time to dive into it today. It says, riding the bikes back to back, we found the Harley-Davidson felt like a Ducati monster compared to the BMW. The slim and relatively light and agile, the slim was relatively light and agile, tipping into and pulling out of turns more easily and with more grace. Limited cornering clearance on the R18 reminds you of what you already know. If you're excited, you probably need to slow down. There is pleasure to be found in the R18's ride, but through scenery, not speed. Find a favorite road and take the time to enjoy it. You can get a swift flow going, but rush is never rewarded on the R18. So, again, something that we've heard. R18 is fun. It's a great little bike. A little bit of a clearance issue on some of the turns. And when you're saying that a Harley has better clearance issues turning, that's that's usually how you knock a Harley, is by saying, well, you don't have clearance when you're turning. And now they're saying, well, the Harley's got to beat here. Just keep that in mind. The R18 is a nice, casual Sunday afternoon drive kind of bike. Yes, it's got some great. Yes, you can. Nice open sweepers. The tighter you get, the more worried you should be. So, and yes, if you're riding with, coming off the bike and moving your butt and stuff like that, you might be able to negotiate more of these, but most riders don't even get close to trying that. So, quick thoughts on that guy.
Tom, as a representative for BMW?
Well, I noticed, Ken was trying to avoid me talking about Harley, so he didn't want me to discuss it.
No, I mean, that's fine. We just have a few minutes.
Yeah, no, both pluses for Harley, and I did go through that article in depth on it. I'm not a big fan of the Beamer R18. I've not had a chance to ride it, but I've sat on them in the dealership. It is a heavy bike to get off, and looking at the pictures side by side, I actually like the look of the Harley better. I've always been a fan of the fat tire front that they have on that bike. So, and
wait,
yes,
did you just give Harley a compliment?
I gave him a compliment, yeah, and I think, this may be one of the few times that Harley ever wins a head-to-head performance shootout with another bike. But I think the biggest difference in these two bikes is the wheelbase. I mean, the Beamer has a 4 inches more wheelbase, which is huge on a bike. Right. So yeah, it's just going to be cumbersome. It's going to be slow to turn, and it's a straight line type of ride. But if I had the choice between the two, especially this isn't going to happen too often either. The Harley is I think over $4,000 less. If I was, again, this is a segment, and I realize this, it's not a bike I would ride, but it's a segment where form is more important than function. From a form standpoint, I think the Harley's the better bike.
And I'll say this, both bikes look better in person, and the Harley looks a lot better in person. The R18 does look better in person. I don't know why, but it can't take a good looking picture to save its life. But it does look a lot better in person. In case so go make sure you see it in real life before you judge the looks and appearance of it. What I think we should do, Lair.
Well,
let's transition.
Just to add to that, I would just say that the this is sort of the opposite of the previous review in a sense. Harley is kind of invading BMW and KTM turf with the Pan America, and now BMW is now invading Harley's turf with this cruiser. But I don't think this cruiser is as good of an entry into the cruiser realm as the Pan America is into the ADV realm. The R18 just has too many problems. It's certainly a nicely finished bike, and if you like the styling, you like the styling, but it's got lots of problems in terms of its handling, in terms of its lean, in terms of its vibrations. I just don't think that this iteration is the one to really consider. Maybe in
Yeah.
another year or two, they'll refine it and it'll be more competitive.
I mean, I agree, even from the concept. I mean, and I'm a BMW boxer engine fanboy. You know, I've owned
Yeah.
three of them over the last 11, 12 years, but I just don't like the dimensions of this size. Um, I'm not crazy about the looks, and like I say, when you sit on that thing and you pick it up off the side stand, it is heavy. You feel every bit of those 750 pounds. And going back to our topic, you better have been doing your squats to lift that thing up.
All right, so Larry, you want to take us into the paddock area for a little bit?
Oh, sure. Sure. So I this weekend was the Portimao version iteration of the MotoGP at the Portimao racetrack in Portugal, which was called into service just last year and after the foreshortened season. And it probably will become a regular part of the MotoGP circuits in the future. This marked the return of Marc Marquez to MotoGP, and that was, of course, very exciting to everybody concerned. Qualifying was quite interesting, with the Yamahas under Quartararo and Vinales setting very fast lap times. Unfortunately, Vinales' fastest time was disqualified. And I initially the story was that he had inadvertently run part of the lap under a yellow flag. One of the other riders had gone down, and he ostensibly didn't see the flag. But I later, in a subsequent article, I learned that it wasn't a yellow flag violation for Vinales. In fact, it was that he had gone over the track limits, and they now have sensors all around the track that can detect literally millimeters of tire violations of the track limit violations, and he had just gone over by virtually millimeters, and therefore his qualifying time, which probably would have put him at the front, was waived, and he had to start off, I think, in 12th position. Quartararo prevailed. He had the fastest lap time and took pole. Alex Rins of the factory Suzuki's was in second place, and Johan Zarco and the Pramac Ducati took the third. Miller, who was just recovering from a minor arm surgery, took fourth place. Morbidelli on a Petronas Yamaha was in fifth, and Marc Marquez took sixth place. He was in the second row. So Marquez was already looking good right from the start of this race. Maverick Vinales, unfortunately, had to start back in 12th place because of the violation, and Valentino is still struggling with lap times on his Petronas Yamaha, and I think he started way back in like 16th place. Mir, last year's champion, started off in 9th, and that was sort of the positioning at the start of the race. So the race began. Quartararo had a good start, but Rins and Zarco had a better one, and the latter two jumped out with Zarco in the lead. Mir was battling with a surging Marquez, and he slotted into fourth and then fifth. Miller, Rins, Marquez, and Quartararo all battling to slot in behind the second place Rins. Mir eventually was able to move up into third. This is in about the first third of the race. Quartararo took fourth place. Miller was in fifth. And meanwhile, Maverick Vinales was just dropping back like a stone. Inexplicably, he ended up in last place for the first part of the race. Meanwhile, Fabian starts a steady move up. He passed Mir and then Zarco, and he was now pursuing the leading Rins. By lap 6, Miller had unfortunately crashed out. But by the 7th lap, Mir was able to edge past Zarco And Morbidelli moved into fifth. And Marquez, who had looked very competitive in the first part of the race, started dropping back and eventually dropped back into ninth place. By lap 8, Quartararo was able to edge past Rins, and he started to open up a gap, although Rins kept him in sight for most of the rest of the race. And now we go to lap 18. It's looking like it's going to be a great battle between Rins and Quartararo for first. When Rins, following Quartararo into turn 5, suddenly goes down. And it didn't appear like he made any gross errors. He just went down. This enabled Zarco to take over second place, and he was closely pursued by a strengthening Pecco Bagnaia, who on the factory Ducati had moved up, I think, from he had had a yellow flag violation in the qualifying. He moved up, I think, from 11th place, and was now racing for second place on the factory Ducati. Unlike Vinales, Bagnaia was able to move up during the race. Vinales was moving back. It's lap 19 now, and Zarco suddenly and unexpectedly goes down, and all the crashes that I saw, the errors, if there were errors that the riders made, were very subtle. There was nothing obvious. They just appeared to be coming out of a turn or going into a turn, and suddenly their bikes went down. And it's kind of puzzling how quickly and easily that happened on a track that was not wet and in conditions that were not that difficult. Of course, racing is normally very difficult, but nothing extraordinary. So this put once the Zarco went down, this put Quartararo comfortably in first place. He had a several second lead on Mir and Bagnaia, who were battling for second place, and Morbidelli was following, hoping to be able to get third place and get a podium position. This, however, was not to be. Quartararo, Fabio, so far the fabulous, took his first place finish for the season, and Pecco Bagnaia took a well-deserved second on the factory Ducati. If he had not had that penalty during qualifying, who knows what he might have done in this race. So he's somebody to watch in the future. And Mir took the defending champion, took his first podium finish this year in third, a well-deserved third. Franco Morbidelli on the Petronas Yamaha ran a very good race and finished in fourth place. And Binder finished in fifth, a credible fifth on the factory KTM. And Alessia Espargaro on the factory Aprilia finished in sixth place, the best ever for Aprilia in the MotoGP. So Aprilia is definitely showing this year, and as is KTM. And so this is going to be an interesting year in terms of the factory competitions as well. Marquez finished a very credible seventh place on the Honda, and his brother Alex Marquez finished in eighth, and he's on the non-factory Honda. So that was pretty impressive as well. Maverick did find some speed in the second half of the race. He was able to move up to 11th from last place for the finish. And Valentino, I don't know what's going on with him at this point, but he went down on lap 11, and he had started to look like he was finding some speed before he went down, but he is not looking so great thus far in the year. And this is in contrast to the fact that Yamaha in general is looking like they will remain competitive on the European tracks. That was the question when they moved from Qatar, whether Yamaha would still be competitive, and it looks like they can be. And of course, Marc Marquez has shown that he will be a force to be reckoned with in the future races. So I would look for him to remain in the front part of the race longer in successive races as he builds up his strength. And I would expect in another couple of races, he will definitely be competing for podium positions. And as for Valentino, we're going to see. I have no doubt that unless his fortunes improve in the next few races, this may be his last MotoGP year. So in 2 weeks, we'll be on to Juarez or Juarez, depending on how you pronounce it, in Spain. And the drama will continue to unfold. So it's going to be an exciting season this year. Stay tuned. Keep listening. And we'll talk to you next week.
Awesome. As always, you do a great job reporting for everybody for the paddock. All right. So let's give some thanks. Thanks to everybody who donates and supports the Throttled podcast on our Patreon site. Our Throttled crew members, you can go to our website, throttledpodcast.com, hit the Patreon logo, or go to patreon.com/throttle to join our Throttled crew. Hopefully, we'll be able to all get together and ride some soon. Some of us are in the local area. We will see what comes in the upcoming months. Let's see what else we want to do. Well, we need to start working our way out of the show. We're going to do that by just reminding everybody that we are on Twitter at Throttle Show, Instagram Throttle Show, and Facebook Throttle Podcast. We do podcast live most Sundays at 7:30 Central and put out something on our social media before the show. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're interested in writing in, giving us some feedback, or have any questions, or just want to make a comment, write in feedback at throttledpodcast.com. Go to the website, throttledpodcast.com. Click on that contact tab. We get that in the same mailbox. Thanks so much to everybody for tuning in and listening to this episode. We really enjoyed having you. And let's see, Tom, you want to sign off?
Absolutely. Hey, everybody, have a good week. Thank you very much for listening in, and treat that bike like transportation. We'll talk next week. Larry?
I like that. Yes, I agree. And don't forget, by the way, that the American Flat Track and the King of the Bagger Racing resumes in a couple of weeks, and I'll be mentioning them as well. So there's lots of stuff to look forward to and to listen in for. So join us and become a member of the crew. And in the meantime, ride a lot and make sure that you ride your own ride. Kevin?
All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Thank you, Tom and Larry. As always, you guys are awesome. We're going to see you all next week, and get out there and ride. Ride safe. Bye, everybody.